All right. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Akshay here from Team BIAP, and I will be the one who will be introducing the team to all our viewers today. It is a very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of Indo-American Society and Board of Industry Academia Partnership, and we are very thankful to all our participants who have joined this program today. We hope to see a very, very wonderful uh, conversation happening here amongst all our esteemed professors who have joined as panelists for this panel discussion. So just before we start the program today, I would request Jatin, one of my team members, to start the Saraswati Vandana, and let's invoke the blessings of Goddess Saraswati to begin before such an auspicious program today.
देन्दु तुषारहार धवला या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता या वीणा वरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेत पद्मा ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्कर प्रभृतिभिर्देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेष जाड्या
Well, that was great. It is always good to start with giving our tributes and worship the goddess of Saraswati. So yes, just before we start with our panel discussion today, I would like to introduce all the panelists and our members on board today who would be discussing on our topic. So when we start, the first person without whose contribution we could not have done this program today, it is Indo-American Society, who we gladly would like to thank, and the president of the same, Mr. Upendra Seth. Along with him and his contribution, we could have come up with this unique and wonderful program for all our students and participants from across the country. We are very glad that we have more than 400 participants who have joined today for this program. And taking it forward from here, our panelists who would be discussing on our today's topic are Dr. Arun Pujari, who is the Vice Principal from Lala's College. Then we have Dr. Antara Sanavne, who is the Vice Principal of KPV Hinduja College, Mumbai. Then we have Professor Meena Desai. She is the Associate Dean of ISME School of Management and Entrepreneurship, Mumbai. Then we have with us Dr. Rakhi Sharma. She is the HOD of Department of Management Studies of Jai Hind College. Then we have Professor Ritika Pathak. She is the HOD of BAF, BPI, BFM, BMS from KC College, Mumbai. And along with them, we have our today's mentor, the star professor from our teaching faculty. We have Dr. Naveen Mukesh Punjabi. He is the IC Vice Principal of HR College and an associate of HSNC Board. All these panelists are heartily welcomed on the program today, and I hand over the program to Dr. Naveen Punjabi to carry it forward.
Thank you, Akshay, for the very kind introduction. I think we missed Mr. Upendra Seth coming on the call. He'll join in whenever he gets his connection back, so we can have his formal welcome address then. So let's proceed with the proceedings. So the idea of organizing this panel discussion was that I'm sure all of us are at home and trying to learn, unlearn, relearn new things. And we have become the DIY generation now. I don't know whether it's some more marketing term will coin up for the generation that has experienced this pandemic. We will be termed something new after another maybe 15 to 20 days. There might be a new name for our kind of the host. Can you please mute yourself? Thank you. Yeah. So coming back to the idea of organizing this panel discussion, which Mr. Upendra Sheth told us just 2 days ago, saying that let's do some panel discussion, let's have a discussion on education. And then when we reached out to all the esteemed panelists, it took hardly 1 second when they gave their confirmation. They were like, yes, let's do this. Yes, let's do this. I was like, how will it happen in a day's time? In 1 day, how do you expect people to join? Technology, how do you manage all this? And let me tell you, this has become the new norm, I may say, that webinars, panel discussion, and I did not know that we would have close to 420 participants in just 1 day. We decided yesterday, we come today, and we have 420 participants, and I can see learned scholars, faculty members, principals, vice principals on this call. So many of them are more than qualified to be on this panel. So I feel really humbled that they have taken out time to come on this panel discussion. So now just to give you a backdrop of what we'll be doing in this panel discussion, basically, if we see, yes, COVID-19 is one aspect which has definitely, has not only a economic impact, it has have a HEF impact, in my opinion, which is human, economic, and financial impact. So the impact is not merely financial or economic, it is also human. So there's a lot of stress on mental health as well, which has impacted student population at large. If you look at the data of the Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the expenditure on education is just 4%. It is just 4%. Yet it is valued at $101 billion. According to ASH, all my faculty members would, whenever I say the word ASH, unko sab NAC and all those things they will, recollect. ASH is All India Survey on Higher Education. There are close to 51,649 institutes. I repeat, 51,649 institutes of higher education. I'm not talking about schools, only colleges and above. That means K-12 and above are 51,993 universities, catering to 40 million students. And as of today, that's only India. I'm not talking about the globe. This is only India. And as of today, everything is at a standstill. Education is a concurrent list. It's actually a subject of state as well as central matter. So of course, UGC dictates terms and then we follow them, but also the state has a say in when to open, when not to open, what to do, what not to do. So in such kind of situations, when the student is on its own means there is no hand-holding, there is no formal engagement from colleges. Few colleges are engaging students formally on these informal platforms called as Zoom, WebEx, Microsoft Teams, etc., etc. Now, all this has become the new norm and students have come on this informal platform. So engagement levels have reduced dramatically. So what are students doing in this time? That's the question that's haunting me. Are they watching Money Heist on Netflix? Are they doing micro learning on YouTube? That means they are seeing some few short educational content. Are they doing a Swayam course on the UGC portal? Or are they just chilling in their own language? As you say, students, I'm chilling as of now. So I'm just hoping that very soon there'll be a new marketing term that will be coined out for you and me. For the generation that has experienced this pandemic, I'm pretty confident we'll be called something like baby boomers, millennials. There'll be a new term for all of us put together. And this is what is going to be the next thing. Yeah, so the idea is that the pandemic has made different things and different questions that has posed us. Will online be acceptable norm? Will students buy e-textbook versus physical textbooks? There are many such questions which the esteemed panelists are going to answer today. So without taking much of the panel's time, I would want them to give their opinion. So what we'll go in this panel discussion is we'll invite opening remarks in the chronological alphabetical order of the panelists. And then we will have a panel discussion which will be open, where all the panelists can then unmute themselves. Now, when I take the name of the panelist, they may unmute themselves and present their opening remarks to all the students and the learned faculty members. So can I request Dr. Antara Sonavane, Vice Principal of Hinduja College, to please unmute herself and present her opening remarks.
Thank you, Naveen. Good evening, everyone. To begin with and to open today's session, my remarks would be that when we talk about Indian education system, the Indian education system, we have really seen a lot of leaps and bounds in it. We have grown from the time of Gurukula that we had, a Gurukula system that we had, to a classroom system. From classroom system to we have moved to training pedagogies wherein teachers led instructions and classrooms was the format. And today, finally, we are on a format where we are talking about e-learning, remote learning. So all this is going to assure a very great development in a high quality education, and yet it is going to give upskilling in the education system, and this upskilling is going to really be a very helpful for the students. The upskilling is going to make them capable for taking the new challenges in this the work environment, which is has a great dynamism in the VUCA world that we always talk about, where the uncertainty we always have at the highest. So this upskillings are going to be the survivor. This is going to save each and everyone, you know, in this VUCA world. That is what this is what my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Antra. May I now request Dr. Arun Pujari to present his opening remarks.
Well, good evening to all the panelists today and all those listening to me online. Well, I want to start my discussion with saying every situation brings in opportunities. Okay, before that, let me just congratulate Indo-American Society and BIAP for taking such a wonderful initiative. And of course, on the very apt topic for today, that is on changing role of education, upskilling for new economy. Now, let me have my opening remarks by saying every situation brings opportunities. It is indeed golden opportunity for education sector. Now, the other day I was listening to Prime Minister of the country, and he says, now during lockdown, no option, then 300 million is suddenly having to home educate. Let me give you some statistics. KPMG estimated in 2016, the online market would be around $2 billion in 2021. That is from $250 million in 2016. Byju founded in 2011, and today it is an $8 billion company. They have launched their online space in the year 2015 when India had quarter internet user, and today we have half of India using internet. India has mass potential, but we hit back when situation occurs. We don't work on proactive model, and that's a whole problem. Nevertheless, it is too never late. Let's explore this opportunity. That's what I want to say in my opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun. I really like the way you explained it. In China, that's what the meaning of crisis is. Crisis on one side is danger, on the other side is opportunity. So Arun is saying, look at the bright side, that's the opportunity. Thank you, Arun, for your opening remarks. May I now invite Professor Meena Desai to present her
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. You know, I'd like to say that the entire pandemic has created, and since you said something about marketing and the terminology that will come around, what's really doing the rounds on the webinars that I'm attending is that there have been 3 classifications already. An era BC, before Corona, DC, during Corona, which is right now what we are undergoing, and then of course AC, which is after Corona. Also quoting, you know, and taking a leaf out of what Arun sir said, that frankly, every challenge is actually an opportunity waiting for us to go and seize it. And I think whether it is AC, BC, DC, what are we going to make out of this? And how this is going to be a new normal that we are going to be a part of is what lies ahead for us as educationists, as well as all the students who are on this panel, on this, you know, on the webinar today and beyond. That's my opening remark. Thank you, Naveen.
Thank you, Meena, for these wonderful opening remarks. I love the terms already being started coining, AC, BC, and DC, and now there's going to be a hue and cry of what we should call ourselves. Trust me, every academician is coining new terms these days, and we are all waiting to see what will be the most acceptable new norm. So thank you, Meena. I appreciate the opening remarks. Can I now invite Professor Rakhi Sharma, HOD of Jai Hind College, to present her opening remarks?
Uh, thank you. Thank you, Naveen. First of all, I mean, I really thank Indo-American Society and BIAP for creating such kind of a platform where more than 400 students, esteemed panelists have come here for giving up their views and talking about upskilling of new economy. According to me, the most important thing what we have to now look forward is create a culture of innovation and enterprise where all stakeholders have to play a significant role. And when I'm talking about stakeholders, we have teachers, we have students, we ourselves as parents also, we need to understand how we can create a curious learner within the students. And as far as the students' role, it has to be something like, solving a wicked problems within projects innovatively. And this is coming out from me because of my entrepreneurship background since 2007, where day in, day out, even during Corona, we are working with our startup labs and all this kind of programs which we are running on and off. Even now also is something which tells me like, there is a skill which is required is learning skills, which is very, very important for all of us. That's to begin from my side.
Thank you, Raki, for those interesting entrepreneurial comments, and we appreciate your opening remarks. May I now invite Professor Ritika Pathak, HOD of KC College, to present our opening remarks, please.
Good evening, everyone. Again, thank you, BIAP and Indo-American Society for creating this platform. And to present, of course, everyone, all the esteemed panelists have already made their comments. But to tell you what I feel is, firstly, I would like to congratulate everyone who's present on this platform right now, because you're all a part of the change. So this is what we're talking about, right? This pandemic has brought about so much change that we have to adapt to. And that's the most important part in life, that is being able to adapt to change. Even though it's a novel situation for all of us, but these kind of pandemics have happened earlier. So if I go back to like the 14th and 15th century when there was the plague, that time Isaac Newton, I'm sure you all know about him, had enrolled in a university. So we're talking about the education system. These things, education system has gone through it before, has survived the storm and come back stronger. That is the time when he actually developed the law of gravity, the law of calculus. So what I truly believe is this is the time to actually innovate. This is the time to upskill, as everyone's mentioned. This is the time where you may feel like, this is going to be a financial crisis, it's going to be an education crisis. Yes, it is going to be, but this is an opportunity. You take it, you learn, and once it's all over, it's going to be the survival of the fittest. So you have to take this opportunity to make sure you survive in the coming times. That's from my side.
Thank you, Ritika. So I think there is one consensus definitely among the panel that no danger or no adversity is standalone. There is always an opportunity attached to it, which we really appreciate. So thank you all for your opening remarks. So let us now have these. We have got some selected questions, which we will take up. Few questions that, of course, I have made, and some questions that we have borrowed from the participants or the students who have sent these questions to us on WhatsApp or the chat window. The chat window is still open. You can definitely send in your questions. It will be difficult for us to maneuver 400 questions. So we'll try to pick up as many as possible. I can't promise you that your question will definitely be answered, but we'll try our best. We'll leave you an email ID in case if it's possible for us to answer that at the end of the session maybe. So let's begin the discussion. The first question I would like to address to Dr. Antara. So Antara, Harvard, Stanford, Wharton, edX, and Coursera are courses which are available on free for the students. Do you think students are making much of it, and they are kind of engaging in these courses online? What is your perception, or what are your students doing in? I request you to unmute yourself, Antara.
Yeah. So basically this all Coursera and the new platform of virtual learning, it is really giving a good facility to the students, or maybe the time like a pandemic, we can really make an optimum out of it. But if I compare that, is it really going to be, worth the students? So I will say that this is just going to, be one of the additional input. It cannot actually replace, the classroom, because the teacher is very important. The teacher, the facilitator. See, now the whole role of a teacher will change to a facilitator. But this online courses that maybe an excellent university and they have a great, already credentials with them. But when it comes to online learning, again, the continuous supervision that we as a teacher do in the classroom is not possible there, or it is very difficult. So the kind of a student with a different attitude, if he really has that attitude of a learning, maybe he's there and he's ready to, learn from those platforms. But again, the commercialization of education through this online platform is also a concern. So I would say that the times like this, wherein we have no other options, wherein we can depend on such courses, but when the time gets back to the normal, this can be the additional to, as we all add-ons. It is going to add on to the existing platforms that we already have. But I strongly believe that we must have a face-to-face, the learning that is happening, a lot of group discussions, presentations. Maybe the classroom scenario will change, but the format needs to be maintained.
Excellent. So a very nice answer saying that it's not going to replace education. It's not going to replace formal education. It's only going to be supplementing, complementing. And it's going to help students to learn in a new manner till the time, the classes come back to normalcy. So in the chat window, what I'm doing is there are these free Harvard courses. There are 67 Harvard courses which are available for free. That these courses are going to be available for free, which you can explore. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put those all for you on the chat window. Just give me a moment. Yes, here you go. So you can explore these options and you can supplement your learnings. I mean, you can use it as a complementary learning and try to see if some courses appeal to you, and you may learn it for free. So you don't need to pay for everything as of today. As Antara rightly said, that we need to be a little careful of highly commercialization of education in such times.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what has happened is anybody with an internet connection and a Zoom 40 minutes call can become an education entrepreneur and start spreading whatever kind of courses that they like.
Exactly. That's the concern.
Thank you, Antara. I think.
Hello.
Yes, Arun.
Hey, Naveen, if I can add up something to this.
Please go ahead.
Hello. No, what I was trying to say, that what Antara is trying to say, to some extent it is right, but see, you're talking about program from a well university.
Yes.
See, today, since we are talking about modern education, what is very important, it is not only, see, at the end of the day, when we talk about technology, at the end of the day, it is just going to give you some kind of a aid. What we need to understand out here more is designing of curriculum and your pedagogy. If such foreign university, the kind of courses, see, they are putting a lot of emphasis on not teaching, unlike us. The most of the emphasis which is put on learning side of which is, see, we emphasize on content development, they emphasize on learning outcome, we emphasize on knowledge, but they emphasize on use of knowledge. So I feel that since we are talking this particular scenario as an opportunity, we should rather start sitting and doing not much. So we should take this opportunity and tell them the use of this, how Western universities are trying to put emphasis on practical way of learning. We should encourage them to take up such opportunities and explore. As Antara rightly said that, yes, anybody can just come up and what do you say, that put anything on the website, and since it's commercialized, let us not really not get our students trapped, but we can always guide them what courses, what is the learning outcome of which is. See, we don't really otherwise get this kind of an opportunity, but since we are getting an opportunity, we must push. That's what I feel. Thank you.
So it's a moral obligation to tell the students about all of this. So what Arun rightly said is learning outcomes. So my second question is to Ritika. Ritika, will learning move towards a cafeteria approach in coming times? Because right now learning is more in silos. Like I'm doing BCom, I'm doing BMS, I'm doing BFM, BBI, BMM. So all these courses are star courses. So if I ask a BMM student, which course is the best course, he says, boss, mera course sabse best hai. If I ask a BMS, he says, mera course sab mein best hai. So will it move from there to a different cafeteria approach where student gets to choose, I want to choose this teacher and maybe this course?
Yes, Naveen, definitely that is going to be the way forward, because now if you see, the students are really very smart. All right, they know, they decide for themselves. Earlier it wasn't the situation. We would go with what our parents told us or what others told us. But now that they're so smart, they are going to choose. It's totally going to move towards a cafeteria approach, as most of the universities are also applying. Like the HSNC University Mumbai that's coming up is also looking at the cafeteria approach, where a student will have 100% opportunity to choose probably one course from a BMM, one subject from a BMS, one he wants to learn something from probably physics, he wants to learn something from chemistry. There is going to be no stopping. The entire problem of space, the problem of a student, not being able to do multiple things or being restricted to what he's started off with and not ending up with something totally different, is going to change. The cafeteria approach is going to be the way forward, where the student will decide what he wants to study, which area he wants to look at. If he wants to learn something totally new, it's going to be the opportunity for the student.
Thank you. Excellent. Can I
Naveen,
May I
add
add
to this?
Okay.
go
Yeah.
ahead, Meena?
Yeah, so, I think interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary learning is genuinely the only way forward. And I'm going to back Ritika on this, that, especially coming from the generations where we have, we were tick boxed, right? BCom, BA, BSc. I mean, those were the options that were available.
True.
And even there, you were tick boxed into, if you are, of a particular intellect, then with BCom, you did a CA or a CS. I mean, those were the combinations that were available. And look how things have changed in 15 years or maybe, around that time. And world over, look at the emphasis on liberal arts, and the importance of humanities. I mean, even in a pandemic like this, if you are coming in from areas of multidisciplinary learning, this is a new normal. You'll have to go online. You'll have to learn in a different manner. You'd like to learn different courses. And I'm also going to go back to the previous segment on, into this on online learning, that learning is going to change. Whether we believe it, like it or not, but social distancing norms, all of that is going to come and completely rock our world and change it in a different manner, which means we'll have to supplement online learning, multidisciplinary learning, interdisciplinary learning within the silos or within the infra learning that we have currently on board. So yeah, I think that is the way forward.
Naveen?
Yes, Antara.
Yeah, just to add to what Ritika just now mentioned, if we actually refer to the new the education policy 2019, it actually says that the things are going to change. It is not going to be the watertight departments. So students will get an opportunity to choose a different, subjects of their liking, and it is going to be that way. So yeah.
Excellent.
In fact, just to add, even the UGC is focusing on multidisciplinary learning and earning credits via doing different things.
Naveen, if we actually going by all the esteemed panelists, what we are talking about, all these important changes which we are going to have subsequently, that brings to the core of our topic is upskilling for new economy. Now, if you are talking about upskilling, so when we are saying changing role of education, which means all of us together. So what are those skills which, whether it is a senior professor or a junior one or a student, has to empower or has to have, so that we are ready for the post-COVID world, right? So for example, I mean, if you look at it, so that's what, if you look at it today, we are saying, okay, so one is learning skills is what I could derive from all the discussion is, I mean, am I mentally prepared to adapt, to improve our mental process to take up new learning? Because now if you see a lot of senior teachers who earlier were not that tech savvy are now all by force or by whatever, not by choice in some cases, definitely are using that. So that is a mindset which is very, very important. And we that's what I mean, we want to tell the students it's ultimately the mindset which is very, very important, which needs to change as far as our mental process is concerned. The second thing which I would look at it is when you're mentioning Harvard courses or Coursera or edX and all these courses which are free, is like, there's a lot of things which are available. There's a lot of information which is available. I need to have a skill to see which one I need to pick up, keeping in mind my competencies, which will help me grow subsequently, rather than just picking it up. So that is another thing. which is important because that will help. That's my literacy skills, which help me in discerning the facts, which is important for me. The third thing which you mentioned right in the beginning also, which is life skills, which we say it's intangible, but yes, like emotional intelligence, how are we dealing is something which is very, very important. So if I have to just say the three important skills, which whether it's a student, whether it is a parent, whether it's any human being, these are the three important skills which we need to work on and empower ourselves, at least to be ready for the post-COVID world.
Absolutely. So just to tell you that while we all were speaking, we raised a poll question, the same question to all the participants here. So I think the panelists right on bang on target. Can I request the host to stop the poll and show the results? This is the question that we posted all of y'all, that given a choice, what would you prefer? We got around 232 votes, 88%, saying that they would want the cafeteria approach as compared to the normal silos.
Ooh.
So I think we all are evolving as educationalists and as students and as educators, that students want this kind of approach. The second thing I would like to say is I brought up Harvard because of Swayam, not because of Harvard. Reason being, Swayam is offering 20% credit even when a student is in a lockdown period at home doing nothing. He can still earn 20% credits, write to their college saying that I would like to get this 20% credits by taking up this course, provided that that course is recognized by the university. I don't know how many of our students here are aware that 20% of the credits can be earned online through the Swayam platform, where CEC is the coordinator or UGC is the coordinator or NAPTOL is the coordinator of a school. So there are a lot of learnings which are available. And I personally feel that there's a lack of awareness, as you rightly said, Rakhi, that what course to choose, what will be ultimately good in terms of learning outcome and good in terms of even a degree value. So both are very important in terms of we need learning without, see, it's like the two sides of the coin. Learning and degrees are two sides of the coin, and you require both. If you don't have learning and you just have a degree, it's gone out. And if you just have the learning and not the degree, again, there's a concern. So in my opinion, they both supplement, complement each other, and that's where Swayam should come in. But I'm glad that, when Bhav, Vani, Kriya, Vichar comes together, that means what we think, what our students think, and what the entire world is thinking, 88% of us are on the same page. So that kind of boosted the kind of thing. Thank you so much. Can I move on to the next question with your kind permission? Yeah. So the next question, let me first see if Mr. Upendra Sheth is here. Mr. Upendra Sheth, are you around? Can the host check if Mr. Upendra Sheth is there? I think he's not got the opportunity to join in, not a problem.
Hello, I'm there already. Hello.
Oh,
Great.
Hello.
Great. We can hear you loud and clear, sir. Mr. Upendra Sheth is the president of the Indo-American Society. A very warm welcome to you, sir. So,
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm extremely sorry that excuse me. I'm extremely sorry that I could not join all of you at the correct time, at the proper time of the, I don't know, some or other, something went wrong and I could not join. Okay. So, good evening to all of you.
good evening.
First, all of you are very safe and fine. Hello, good evening.
yes, sir.
Hello.
We can hear you very well.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, thank you. I trust all of you are very safe and very fine. Thank you, Dr. Naveen Punjabi, for your kind words and your introduction to all the people here at, I'm a president of Indo-American Society, and we at Indo-American Society are extremely happy to be associated with Board of Industry Academy Partnership to present today's webinar on the subject of changing role of education and upskilling new economy. I convey my sincere thanks to Dr. Naveen Punjabi and his team BAIP for making a lot of for overseeing the arrangements of today's webinar. I convey my sincere thanks to all the panelists, all the people on the panel who are absolutely highly educated, distinguished experts and who represent one of the best education institutions and colleges of Mumbai. Thank you, Dr. Rakesh Sharma, for encouraging me and giving me idea to do today's webinar for Indo-American Society. For those of you who are not aware of Indo-American Society, we have just completed 60 years of this thing as an education institution. We provide, we regularly conduct courses in English language, public speaking and communication skill, personality development, all other personal development courses at American Society on a regular basis. Those of you who are not aware, please go through our website, indoamericans.society.org. Now, I would like to give my observations of the current situation of COVID 2019. What I feel is that coronavirus will stay for a very long time and would become part of our lives. Safety measures and social distancing, regular sanitization and wearing masks will become part and parcel of our life, and this is on the personal front. On the business point of view, team size will decrease as compared to the most most people will work from home. Without technology, business will not work. Business will only survive if they have money and liquidity. E-commerce will boom for sure, and one who has multiple skills will have better chance to maintain their jobs. So the message is very clear that invest in your own self, reinvent yourself with your and skill up yourself in the new economy and make best use of your time. I think I've given enough summary of the present situation. Thank you very much for hearing me. Thank you very much.
Upendraji, really appreciate you attempting your best to come on board with us. Thank you so much. So moving ahead to the next question. In the meanwhile, I would request the team to launch a poll. So I think Upendraji and Raki both spoke about soft skills. Let us take the public opinion also whether soft skill is important, not important. In the meanwhile, the poll goes on. I'll move on to the next question, which is directed to Meena. Meena, OJT, that is on the job, where students go on for internships, work from home assignments. Right now, students can't go on internships. So would you think that students should take up virtual assignments and help companies in such times? Do you think internships play a very integral role in learning outcomes?
Definitely. I mean, you and I have heralded the placement cell at HR College for years. And we know how we've, instituted internships, mentorship programs, and final placements for our students. And that's something that I have also taken over while I'm in my new role at ISME. And definitely internships is something that is a necessary aspect of the learning experience. I think it, if nothing to begin with, it also institutes a sense of discipline, a sense of, work ethics, which something millennials, have, without any offense to a lot of them on board right now, have gotten it a little too easy. And therefore, the corporate culture and aspects like that become very important. I say this, I'm sure a lot of us as faculty are also mentors to students. We discover this, that everybody has a dream or an aspiration to be the next big CEO. But there is a ladder which you need to also walk on to reach to that particular level. And that comes through your experiences with internships and placement opportunities that your institution or yourself, you look out for. In the current scenario, and even Upendra sir mentioned a little earlier that business is going to undergo a lot of changes, and across businesses, across industries. It's no hidden fact that the economy is hit and it's going to take some time to recover. But organizations will always need innovative ideas and new skill sets. What we have done, and because frankly, it worked out in our favor in my institution at ISME, is that we'd completed the academic program and our students would be now going in for internship programs. And we reached out to the same, the industry personnel who've been recruiting from us, and we converted them into virtual internships. Yes. There are pros and cons. I'm sure after a few months, it'll be a great, interesting case study also. There are some students who work very beautifully without monitoring, and there may be some who require that sense of supervision. I'm repeating myself, this is a new normal. We don't know how this is going to, pan out eventually. But I think I'm a great, canvas or somebody who's promoting e-internships. Because let's be real, how much can you binge watch on Money Heist and, Peaky Blinders and all the other things that you're watching on these OTT platforms? You need to be also engaged. And therefore, I'm guessing, e-internships is a good thing. It may also work well from the industry point of view. Maybe they don't need to pay. Maybe the work certificate would be important. The work experience is what is also relevant for the individual who's taking up this internship. So it could be a win-win at this point for both the parties. But I'd encourage all the students listening on this webinar that there are lots of companies who are open to internship opportunities virtually. Grab them.
Excellent. Thank you, Meena. I think you gave them a very interesting cue, saying that you could use your time productively by taking up an e-internship or a virtual internship. At least you're contributing meaningfully. So the last poll that you all saw, 99% of the people said that they would want people to have soft skills. That Professor Upendra Sheth and Professor Rakhi had said that soft skills is one of the integral part. So coming to internship, we have launched another poll asking how many of you would prefer working from home as well and not dealing away time on watching Peaky Blinders and Money Heist. How much can you watch? I think we've all watched all seasons as of now. At least for me, the content is getting over online until unless new content is being shot. So let's put our time more productively. So now moving on to a little more academic, more rigorous academic thing, which I'll address to the next question to Professor Arun Pujari. Dr. Arun, the next question is on examination. What do you feel, given the scenario, will online exams be the new norm? Or do you think that one day we all would be able to give exams online, at least the internals, if not anything else? The internals in the unaided courses, which are 25 marks usually.
Okay, interesting and very good question, Naveen. But see here, one thing, let me just bring the notice of everybody. See, though we are talking this as a one-way opportunity, looks good. But another thing, what we really need to answer is, are we ready for this change? See, I'm talking about having a right infrastructure. Today, we are not talking about India is not Mumbai or 4 metropolitan city. When I talk about India and some kind of revolution in the education field, leave up as an opportunity. Of course, yes, very much this is an opportunity. We need to understand whether we are ready for this. We need to answer a few very important questions out here, like what is our internet drawn with, what do you say, that internet speed all about? Do we have that level of servers? Today, one thing is very clear, though a lot of colleges during lockdown have a lot of this, webinars, but this is a time where exactly got to know that what are the glitches, what are the problems. All this softwares are paid software. We need the right infrastructure in place, and infrastructure you need a lot of money. See, when we talk about change here, we need to think from the perspective of stakeholders. Our stakeholders are right from students, parents, teachers, management, government, everybody. So we need to answer this very question. It's not teacher who want to change. It's not students, but the whole stakeholder needs change this very perspective. So gradually, yes, very much, it's definitely one of the very good thing to go ahead with. But certain questions we really need to answer. Are we ready at first place? We know for the fact that so many webinars what I've been attending, that there are some glitches in terms of connectivity and internet in India. It's still in paid form. So looking into those scenario, I don't know how soon going ahead with either internal or external is definitely going to be the very good idea. I'm up for it. But right now, I think some realities, hard realities, which we need to know, that we are talking about whole of India. India is not 4 metropolitan city, nor it is 1 tier, 2 tier, 3 tier city. We need to reach out to whole. We need to get the revolution, and has to be changed right from the group start, and for which we need a lot of thinking. But yes, if you're asking me, should we go ahead with this? Very much we should go ahead with this. Definitely in near future. Because another thing which, if I have time little, I need to just emphasize on this. See, today we know for the fact that Mumbai University, all the colleges, we have sort of examination work that 12 months, we only do exam. Where is the time for faculties to enhance? There's no time for faculties to enhance. I think faculty should be enhancing themselves. They should work on developing curriculum, pedagogy, than what teachers are doing today, administration work, arranging seminars, organizing seminars, conducting them throughout the year. So definitely having online exam will definitely going to give us relief for the students, for faculties and the whole stakeholder. But as I said, that infrastructural constraint which we need to work. So I feel. Thank you.
I think I agree with Arun sir. Around only 60% of the world population has access to internet. So what he's saying, that the infrastructural problem definitely is a big problem. But I think with 5G coming in, the problem, the connect
laptop or 2 laptops, sometimes the parents are work from home. Yeah, so the laptops, the gadgets are busy with them. So even when we are saying that we are in the city like Mumbai, we face these problems. Yes, definitely the internet connectivity, infrastructure, but again, can all parents and students can afford this? Like the kind of university that we have and the affiliated colleges that we have, it is spread across Raigad and so many different districts, wherein again we have to see the poverty ratio, what it is. The students, they are not even able to afford the fees that they are, the concessional fees. So again, this is a question. When we say going online, it's just not the infrastructure. Again, it's, can we really afford this as a country? Can we really make everybody a part of it? Can we go for some inclusive system wherein we can actually put up? But definitely we should go for online examinations.
Absolutely.
So I think the consensus of the panel is that definitely we'll have to adopt technology, but with preparedness and with more accessibility and convenience to everybody, and more acceptability of all stakeholders. I think that's what the conclusion of the entire discussion was. So just sharing the result of the poll on student engaging from work from home internships, it's 93% believe that they would want to do internship there. Now, next poll has come up in line, what we discussed with Professor Arun. How many of you would prefer? See, they said, let's have a stakeholder view. So you are the stakeholder. Let's ask you all, how many of you would prefer to give a pen and paper test versus an online test? I think this is going to be a very mixed bag result, in my personal opinion, because many people are not very comfortable with the online system. As part of the HSNC University, we were actually exploring opportunities for online proctored exam. So let me just tell you what an online proctored exam. For example, anybody with a webcam device, those devices can be switched on. So if a person is giving a test, uska photo khich liya jayega. After every 3 minutes, one picture will be taken. He cannot move outside the window in which he is. So he cannot go to Google and search and come back. So there are a lot of challenges. Online exams is very easy said, but when it comes to implementation, as Antara rightly said, that are we prepared? Ritika rightly said only 60% of the world has internet, but 5G is coming. As Meena, we've discussed this offhand many a times, and she also says the same thing, that preparedness is more important. But yes, this is how the entire ballgame is, and we'll see what the results of this question comes up. In the meanwhile, I'll move to the next question to Dr. Rakhi Sharma. The next question is to Dr. Rakhi. Rakhi, there are a lot of your student population that aspires to go abroad. And this year has been a little tricky one for all those who have been, planning to go abroad. What is your opinion? What will be the trend of global education this year?
So I think very rightly said, of course, the students aspire to go abroad and have this and have a global education and do particular courses in respective universities and all. So in majority of the cases, somewhere this pandemic has somewhere invoked that kind of feeling that it is somewhere important for us to acquire more of the skills right here and do education also to some extent in India also, because at the end of the day, if it is very, very important, even if I do an education abroad, what kind of jobs will I get and where are the jobs? So it's like, you know, and moreover, it's very important is even if I have a degree, the delicate question is, why should I hire you? Because it's like, you know, looking at the new visa issues, norms which are changing, which subsequently will change, and there are doing a degree or again we are going back to the same point, is I have a degree which has a value, but the value is for getting married, but but now I need to do a job, or I need to create a job, and somewhere I really have an objection to certain things. We all very proudly say that our students are doing so well, are working in great companies. I myself also work in placement cell. But at some point of time, now it's a time for us to raise a question to ourselves and see that how many of us are in a position to create jobs which our country need. And so that we can have more people, because let us look at it, why are we not looking forward for Make India, Startup India, all these campaigns which are started, which are very much there. Who is holding the hands of these students who had those ideas, who wanted to take it ahead, who had got their first customer traction? We just leave them in the middle, and now those are the people who are required. Even if you look at it, if you read the newspapers today, if you look at vaccine, we see IIT Delhi guy is building the vaccine, someone is working on the ventilator. So at the end of the day, the global thing is there, but when it comes to solving a problem, we can do it, and so we have that kind of mindset. The only thing is we can do it, and the best example is today. If you see Naveen, Meena, earlier we had Arun, we all were in earlier panel at Indo-American Society doing that session. Right here, we are all in our comfort zone, doing a healthier discussion, and this is possible only because of this pandemic. So that is where, and we are imparting knowledge to more than 400. We are trying to share whatever we can to 400 plus students. So it's possible. We all have this entrepreneurial mindset. We need to now put it on track and do something for our country by promoting Make in India and Startup India campaign, so that we give jobs, internships to the people in our country and even to other countries, people also.
I'd like to back Rakhi on this. Naveen, can I just add a point?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yeah. You know, I think, frankly, and I say this even out of a personal experience, that I'm a biggest advocate of undergraduate education in India. I think it's the strongest, across, even if it's a vanilla course like a BCom or a BA. And Rakhi rightly said that this is the time when you develop skills to create jobs for people within your country. Each one of us have an entrepreneurial mindset. It's just about being triggered at the right point. So what skills are you developing, whether it is through online or offline platforms? I think that becomes very important for you to focus on, rather than aspiring to take that next flight out. And let's be real, even international education for the moment is going to go through a lot of changes. So, and the fact remains that most of their students come from China.
Absolutely.
So, step back, think: are you willing to, be a part of a classroom where you probably are not sure how the learning experience would be? I do recruitment for students in my institution, and I had a very valid, something that I'm still thinking about this, where this child told me, I always wanted to go abroad to do my undergrad, and I've got an admission at a prestigious institution in the US, but they've written a mail to me that that my classes would not begin till January 2021, and they want me to pay 25 lakhs for studying online for my first year. And therefore, I'm going to look at an Indian institution to study. And it may be a commercial decision, but I think it's a decision that you need to also think that why do we go to university, or why do we go to colleges? We go to colleges for network as well and pick up those skills that even what up earlier, that even today from this panel, each one of us are going to pick up some things or some skill sets which we probably have not yet been exposed to over the last 36 days that we've been sitting at home. So, the experience of learning is what is more important. And that is what we need to really, really focus on, rather than just focusing on when will that flight take
All right. So I think that's what the panel also agreed very nicely, and that's what the student community and the stakeholders also agree, that 71% decided that they don't wish to apply this year abroad, and 30% they're like, yes, we will go abroad. So the idea was to understand what the stakeholders also feel. So this is the stakeholders' opinion on what the polls would be like. My next question is directed to Ritika. Ritika, you handling placements at KC College as well. What do you think would be the immediate impact? Will students joining their jobs be deferred, or do you think they'll be, working from home immediately?
Obviously there is going to be an impact. So like we do our placements at KC, so we do it in phases. So one phase which is already done somewhere in December, where students have already been hired. Luckily, the companies have not, taken back their offers or have not decided to hire them further. So they are safe, they are sound, they are going ahead with. But there is a lot of majority of students who haven't got their job offers yet. So of course they will be impacted. Virtual employability may not be the way for everyone, because still companies have also not opened up yet. But once I think things open up, there may be an opportunity. But again, as I said, it's going to be the survival of the fittest. It is a big competitive. People are, because it's an entire economic financial slowdown. It's not just one sector or two sectors have been impacted. It's the entire global world which is impacted. So of course, employability will be challenging, but it's not that it's not going to occur. It's never going to recover. So yes, there are going to be challenges that all the students will face. But again, as everyone's been mentioning, upskilling, trying to do new things, trying to learn new things, give them that advantage over the others.
Okay, so my last question is to all the panel members, just two skills each. So everybody is talking about upskilling. The problem is the problem of choice. In my opinion, in my personal opinion, I feel digital skills are oversold now. I mean, of course, we want digital skills. We cannot be without digital skills. We cannot survive. So that's a bare essential now. But it's being oversold by saying that everything is only technology and there is no other skill that is required. So let me ask this question to all the panelists. Can you give us two skills? This question, I'm just leaving it for all the other faculty members, which is right now on your screen. I can see a lot of other faculty members from various colleges, even principals and even vice principals of other colleges. This is for you. You could answer this question. In the meanwhile, the panel will discuss two most prominent skills that you feel that students should focus on when they have all time in the world for themselves. What are the two major skills, starting with A for Antara? We go in the chronological order, alphabetical order, so we know when we all are speaking.
Yeah, I feel going digital, as you say, it is now overdose of going digital. But when you are saying going digital again, the creativity really matters. How you put that idea. So I'll say creativity and innovation. The toss goes for that.
So the first skill is creativity and innovation, and of course going digital.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Arun.
I feel that I would really add up saying that there should be more of innovators, creators, collaborators, communicators, thinkers, because a soft skill is again very, very important. And maybe during this period, apart from we teach them a lot of things in the class, but they can definitely understand a little more about social skills, maybe a little bit of going little philosophy, or maybe a little spiritualism and all of that. So I think it will make sense, because otherwise they do a lot of their curriculum development, and it's that digital learning and all of that. So it's more of innovators, creators, collaborators, and communicators. That's what I feel.
Thank you, Arun. Meena, over to you.
Yes, of course, completely seconding what Antara and Arun sir has mentioned. But I would also lay emphasis on picking up critical thinking, and there's lots available on that. So you can pick up even basic tests online to enable you to do that. And I think one thing that has definitely come out of this pandemic is your agility. How agile are you to spring back and spring in and out of situations like this. We've all had challenges, personal, professional, or otherwise. There will be more. This pandemic is definitely something. I mean, look at this, right? I mean, it's brought all countries to a standstill. It's not just limited to India or just China or XYZ. So it's how agile you are going to be to, spring back and leapfrog into normalcy moving forward. I think that's what I would also focus on.
Thank you so much. Dr. Rakhi?
Yeah, so for me, if I look at it, the most important skill in the current scenario is building new relationships continuously and making your network your net worth. Because this technology has given us a platform to reach out internationally to any faculty, anything, anyone, and everyone is right there using some social media platform and is willing to collaborate with you or work with you, or even so a different kind of things which you can do together. So of course, going by a collaboration, but how the collaboration will work is identify new relationships which you can build and build it continuously, because that's what will create a lot of difference and will increase your net worth significantly.
Thank you, Rakhi. Ritika?
I think most of the panelists have mentioned the skills that I was about to say, but in addition to all of the skills that they mentioned, like critical thinking, networking, as ma'am mentioned, I believe along with communication, negotiation is going to be a very, very important skill that people are going to require in the future, because you have to fight for your position. You need to know how to negotiate. And other than that would be leadership. We need to create leaders. So people may have the knowledge, they know how to do, they may be innovators, but they need to lead the way. So leadership and negotiation is going to be my way of skills that I think.
Just to add to what Ritika just now said, leadership, it is going to be really very vital now, especially post-pandemic. We are going to see a very different era of leadership. In fact, we need a very new skills now, even be a leader post-pandemic.
Absolutely. I think these are challenging times. I would just leave you with the last skill, which almost all panelists have covered. The last skill, which is most important in my personal opinion, is also compassion. Because at such times, we are very privileged. We have the vegetable vendor coming to our home. We have food, clothing, shelter, and Wi-Fi. So we can go online, speak to our friends, and everything is going on very good for us. My humble submission is we should also try to help those who are less privileged than us, and try to see what best we can do in terms of, so this is the challenge I took up the day one of my students called me up and asked me, so what are you doing? I could not answer much. I did not have much on me. And I told him, okay. So he gave me this idea, why don't you grow your beard, save 50 rupees a day that you're going to save on shaving. So instead of No Shave November, you will collect this money and donate it for COVID-19 patients. I took up that challenge and I said, let's do this. So the idea is that it's not necessary you have to remove. Please go ahead and help the community at large, and let's build this together. I mean, ठीक है, नाम पैसा सब अभी कुछ काम का नहीं है. I mean,
that's what
community service. Yes,
it's no longer the name, it's no longer the fame. It can hit you, it can hit me.
Exactly,
absolutely.
No longer the designation also, in my opinion. Doesn't matter. So with this note, I think it's been a wonderful discussion, and each panelist has brought a lot to the table. The key takeaways I feel the students have is that continuously upskill yourself, learn to choose what skills you need to take. It's a cafeteria approach. Take your teacher's help in choosing the right kind of skill that suits your personality type. So my opinion would be, reach out to your faculty members. Trust me, they're also doing the same thing that you're doing. They're home. They have all the time for you. So reach out to your faculty member. Let not this distance be the distance between you and your faculty member. Reach out to them. Ask them, what should I do? Be engaged with them. At least form a WhatsApp group and have them post things like, this is a Harvard course, this is the Wharton course. Don't do it. You may not do all of it. It's not mandated, but at least be engaged. The more engaged you are, so I would urge faculty to faculty engagement, student to faculty engagement, and a 360-degree engagement. So let's all be engaged. Let's all be connected. And the faculty poll that we did had a very interesting result, which showed that a lot of people feel online is going to be there now. It's even after post-COVID, online is going to remain. So let us get used to a new 500 people in a room and be discussing, be unmuting, muting, and all those aspects of this interesting ball game. So once again, thank you all panelist members. Each of one have
Thank you
been
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Naveen. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Simply
Thank you.
amazing. And over to Viraj and his team to take it forward.
So yes, indeed, it was a very, very fruitful conversation that we had here today. We would also like to thank all the participants, all the members who've been here, all the panelists that have discussed about all these fruitful things that we need to come up with. As Naveen sir quoted, that we all should have our attempt to reach out to our faculty members and talk to them and have a word with them. Well, yes, this was BIAP's attempt to reach out to our esteemed faculty members and spread their message to all those listeners, all those viewers across the country. And we actually are very delighted that we got a support of 400 people in no time. And again, it was a pro bono feature that all these panelists came up, spoke their mind, gave their verdicts, their opinions on all these concepts that are much, much required for students to know. Now the students might be familiar that a professor who's in college does think like a normal individual and has his or her own share to be shared with the students, even in a time of pandemic. Because people nowadays think that it is just me who's suffering and not all. So now this suffering has been turned into an opportunity by these dynamic professors today, and that's an example for the industry and for the students. Before we conclude with everything, there is something that I would like to share with all our viewers today. BIAP, as we all know, is a social platform that connects the industry and the academia. Here, a student who enrolls himself or herself gets a chance not only to learn basic skills, but groom themselves into professionals who actually carry a lot of worth in their thoughts. Their thoughts are molded here, their actions are given a statement, and they do become individuals who successfully reach their endeavors in life. BIAP is a unique platform for each student to express his or her opinions. As we say, we bridge the gap between the industry and academia. This was one of our attempts that proves that students and the faculty are much more keen to develop this country and make it a better and much better country than what it was and what it is. BIAP has multiple programs that it offers, such as Shadow Your Leader, which was one of the hints that we gave them today. Then we had our own volunteering programs. Then we have a global immersion program, pool campus recruitment drives. We have our own experiential learning programs under which we provide certification for varied courses that the industry is currently lacking. Alongside that, BIAP also looks into the social aspects of students. BNAT is a test that students can give through BIAP on an online portal to examine and to get refreshers for the industry and what is happening in it. We also have social drives where we take students outside and for treks and for other informal meetings and informal events. All the faculty members who are present here today can get back to us on support@biap.in to enroll with us for this program known as BNAT, the full form of which is Business News Analytics Testing. Again, before we end, we would like to thank all our panelists and our mentor who successfully vouched and made this program a successful one. Dr. Naveen Punjabi, we would like to thank you for mentoring the program and hosting it. We have Dr. Arun Pujari to be thanked. Then we have Dr. Antara ma'am. Then we have Professor Meena ma'am. Then we have Rakhi ma'am and Ritika ma'am. All of you all, we are highly thankful to you for your cooperation and for your sound opinions that you all shared with us today. And last but not the least, we would like to thank Indo-American Society for giving us this opportunity to come up with this program, and to all our viewers who have patiently waited in the queue to get enrolled in this program and listen to what our speakers had to say today. Well, with this, I would like to conclude that the program is at an end.